let's respond to the press release as he's speaking, because I want the public to understand where he's at fault here and where he's wrong.
Are we all ready? Good. Great, thank you, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call on folks one by one if you have your question ready, and then if you can also say your affiliation, please, when you ask your question, please. Thank you so much. Superintendent will do a few opening remarks as he gets started.
Good evening. Tony Thurman, State Superintendent of Public Instruction. That means that I have the honor of supporting our 10,000 schools all across the state. Today, we're here having a conversation about inclusive education. We believe that inclusive education allows students to do better academically and socially. When students have the chance to learn about those who look like them, who have access to resources and supports to protect our LGBTQ plus students, they do better, simply put. At the same time, we know that students who feel threatened and bullied, and that many of our LGBTQ plus students who identify that way, feel suicidal. 4 out of 10 students in our state who identify as LGBTQ plus think about and have had suicidal thoughts. I came here today because I was called by many students in this district who shared with me that they've been threatened, they've been bullied, they've been intimidated on social media, in the boardroom, and that they feel threatened by this policy that is here being debated today before the board. We believe that the policies articulated today by this board fall outside the laws of California, fall outside of what is guaranteed in state and federal law to protect students in their privacy and to give them safety. We've already put out guidance that speaks to what we believe the law represents in terms of protecting safety and privacy for our students. But beyond that, we believe that if you force parents to force staff to essentially out students about their sexual orientation, you create a system and an environment that can be unsafe for many of our students. And we simply think that the board needs to consider a more balanced approach to addressing the things that they've articulated today. We've put out a number of policies to address some of these concerns that we've heard raised. I mentioned our guidance. We've put out other guidance that says students should not be mistreated because they're LGBTQ plus students or students of color. We are sponsoring legislation that would say if you ban a book for discriminatory purposes against students of color or LGBTQ plus students, that you will in fact be charged a fee for those actions. That bill is in the legislature. It's AB 1078 as we speak. We will continue to stand for our students because we believe that inclusive education benefits all students, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Notice his prepared speech had hardly anything to do with the children. In the beginning, he talked about the actual reason, that the whole press and parents came down was about this parental notification policy, but then turned around and started talking about race. Then it started talking about policies that don't even have anything to do with parental notification. He actually also alluded that this may break the law, which means it doesn't, unless you know for a fact it does. So if you don't know for a fact that it does, so you can say that statement, did you consult with an attorney to find out if this was legal or not? Because actually Sonia Shaw had this to say about this being legal or not.
Thank God for our legal counsel. I feel bad he's had to sit here all the time, but that was to serve a purpose, to show people this is legal. Here's the thing. The Supreme Court has already determined and ruled that parents have a fundamental right to direct the care, the custody, and control of their children. And that right does not get taken away unless the parent is ruled unfit. We have a process. Let it go through this process. If these kids are in danger, I don't want to send them back to their house. That would be horrifying. Horrifying.
Let's go ahead and continue on. This is where questions are going to start coming in from his press release, and you're going to see some pushback in the room from only people that were from the public that I could verify because I came with them, and one other person, but all of the major news outlets gave him no pushback, let it roll as they wanted, and just was fine with it.
Amy Powell from ABC. Can we talk about what just happened in that room where you made some comments?
Yes.
And you were cut off and then
Yes.
escorted out. What's your reaction to that? What do you think that was?
You know, I was a board member. I've served as a school board member, and I know what the rules of protocol are. When someone is speaking in the public, they're allowed to speak, and you don't engage them from the board. You don't engage across the dais to public speakers. And so I was shocked that the board president started to dress me down as a public speaker who stayed within the 1 minute limit.
You didn't stay within the 1 minute limit. That's a lie. You were actually at the podium, went back to the podium after she called a point of order.
May I have, as a point of order, as the board
Point of
president...
order, this is not your meeting. You may have a seat, because if I did that to you in Sacramento, you would not accept it. Please sit.
May I get a point of order?
You're not going to blackmail us. You already sent us a blackmailing letter on previous things. You'll not bully us here in Chino. Please seat.
Point of order.
In Chino. We're
Point
going
of
to take a
order.
5-minute break.
That is her meeting, not yours. And when she made the statement, you know, if she was in Sacramento, you wouldn't give her the same courtesy. And I would tend to agree with her, because you see it all the time in these meetings, you know, unless you are the board member, you only get to speak in public comment or at agenda, non-agenda comments. So that's already a lie.
And so because she was doing that, I returned to the podium. If she wants to engage in a discussion and a debate, I'm more than happy to do that. I respected the rules as they articulated tonight. And as a public speaker, as a citizen, I expect to be treated with the same respect.
Thank you so much. Next question.
Frank with InfoSavage Consulting and Media. Given the fact that the CDC, the APA, and the National Library of Medicine say in order to combat LGBT youth suicidality rates, family acceptance is the #1 way to do that.
That's right.
Why would you be opposed to incorporating the parents in this discussion, considering that the overwhelming majority of parents do support their kids, and we would want to target that? And I'm a part of the LGBT community myself.
Actually, I don't oppose parent involvement or parent rights. I was trying to establish that tonight. I support parent rights. My encouragement to this district is that they should find a more balanced way to show their respect for private rights in a way that doesn't trample on the safety and the rights of our students.
You cannot say that you're for parental rights and then turn around and post on social media that the policy in which would notify parents of what's happening with their kids is radical. Like, think about it. You're not being logically consistent here. Either keeping parents involved is a good thing, and we need to find a balanced way to do that, or it's absolutely bad and you despise of it all. So I'm just trying to understand, which side of Tony Thurmond are we supposed to understand here? Because at the end of the day, the statements in which you are making affect, like you said, I believe you said 1,000 districts or 10,000 districts in our state. So you represent all of them. And when you make statements that are not factually binding, there's going to be districts that make policies and resolutions based on what you say. So when you say these phrases, you have to make sure that they are facts, because you're actually going to affect these children's parents' lives with the words that you use, especially in a man with your power. You need to be able to understand that, and I don't think you fully understand that in this moment.
Many of our students simply cannot identify their orientation in certain environments. They might be unsafe. And I was simply trying to deliver a message tonight that the district has a responsibility to approach this conversation in a way where they balance the safety of our students with the rights of our parents. I've reached out to the board president prior to this meeting to speak with her, to let her know that, and to the superintendent. I've offered to work with them if they want to have sincere conversations about trying to find balance between the safety of our students and their right to be safe and the rights of parents. But what I saw here tonight was just catering to a mob mentality that has disregard for the safety of many of our students who are vulnerable and at risk. and have been bullied and mistreated in that very chamber. And we're here to say that on behalf of our students, we will stand with them and ensure they're safe every time.
So the claims that you're making, I really hope they're supported, because I did do a PRA request to the communications that you received from Chino Valley Unified School District, because I find these claims pretty hostile when you say that they're being bullied inside of the boardroom, when in fact you were the one over there posting on social media that you're going to wield the power of your office to force the hand of Chino Valley Unified School District. So I'm just wondering, are you projecting that you're the bully onto Chino Valley because you're not getting your way as a state superintendent? Because at the end of the day, when you said it may break the law, you want to understand that may or is are two different things. And when it was the LGBT caucus admitting actually on their own website that they are going to be looking at new ways to go ahead and help the LGBT community in Chino Valley. So if they're looking for new ways to help Chino Valley, then why is it that you were claiming that this broke the law? Could it be that it doesn't break the law, and this is why the LGBT caucus needs to try to scramble together some sort of policy? And even in your own press release, when you talk about AB 1078, you try to insert that there's going to be policy that helps these types of things. So in the beginning, you didn't tell the truth of what actually transpired in that meeting. You're not telling the truth about the laws and policies in California to be able to determine whether or not this policy does in fact break the law. And now you're trying to assert yourself here in front of this media that is coming a little bit shady to me as we piece this all together here.
Can you describe how that more balanced protocol, your idea of a more balanced approach?
Simply offering that we're willing to work with those who want to engage in these conversations. Many of these are new concepts that haven't been discussed before, brand new legislation, brand new board policies, but it's clear that this policy puts many students at risk.
But that doesn't answer the question, though. Do you have any ideas, an actual idea about a more balanced approach that you keep describing?
How would you protect me?
Hold on just a moment, everybody.
I'd like to make sure
Thank
everyone
you.
gets a chance.
Yeah, one question at a time and your affiliation, please. Thank you so much.
Answer the question, please.
So I believe you had you asked your question and there was a response. And where's our next question and your affiliation, please? Yes, thank you. What is your affiliation?
Hi, Rachel Menitoff, KTLA. What are the next steps? We're obviously awaiting a vote, but what are the next steps from here? Where do we go from here?
Yes. Well, as I said, we have guidance that is out that speaks to where we think that these types of practices fall outside of the law. We'll continue to monitor and see what actions the board takes tonight. The bill that I mentioned, AB 1078, that is a bill that is very much deeply focused on protecting our students from being discriminated against, is a bill that is actively being heard in the legislature. That bill has an urgency clause in it that says that it can be implemented into law before this legislative session is over. You may have seen that this week the governor and myself put out a communication to another district that has banned a curricula that we believe based on discriminatory reasons. That AB 1078 is once that bill is approved, and if it's approved, that bill would assess a fine directly on that district. And so we're engaging in these conversations, and we'll continue to look into the items that we think are coming forward based on what the board might act on tonight.
Thank you so much. Next question. And what is your affiliation?
Mikayla Ricaforte with the Epoch Times. I'm wondering about the Temecula Valley School District and the recent fine and the sending of textbooks to that district. What is the legality? What legal code allows the state to do such a thing?
Yes. Well, AB 1078 would actually establish.
Will establish. It's not established yet. Make that very well known, because they're trying to make it seem like this policy is illegal, and he keeps saying it's not.
This process and that bill is being heard in the legislature, and it does have an urgency clause. And so we're waiting to see what happens with that bill. I would just say that we are currently investigating the Temecula Valley School District based on complaints that have come to our office, complaints about discrimination against students that is based on discrimination around LGBTQ+ student needs.
Okay, so can I ask one more her question?
Can we go ahead and just really quickly circulate just to make sure everybody has an opportunity to ask their question? Your affiliation, please.
My name is Lisa. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm with the Keeping the Republic Political Action Committee. My concern is you talk about safety, you talk about autonomy, you talk about these things. What about our female students, our daughters, our sisters? What about their safety? It's apparent that they're getting assaulted, just like in Riverside. What about the cancel culture, the bullying with social media, with not agreeing with this ideology? We elected our board. We don't agree with this. You guys have no right to come in and say that you have to purchase these books or we're going to fine you $1.5 million.
Thank you for your question. Let me be clear. I don't support any students being mistreated, regardless of the perspective that they take. And everyone in this state has the right to their viewpoint. As you heard there, I simply was saying that there should be civil discussion about this. I'm only here tonight because students in this very district asked me to come because they've been mistreated, because they've been threatened on social media and in meetings. These are difficult conversations and they warrant discussion. And I'm happy to engage on every level. And I'm also happy to work to ensure the safety of all individuals, regardless of their perspective. I take no issue with who you've elected. I was very respectful to your board. I'm simply here holding up my right to speak and to encourage this board to reconsider their actions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine.
So you're asking the board to reconsider their actions. So you don't support the policy, but yet you keep saying you support parental rights. You can't be against parental notification, but say you're for parental rights, because parental rights mean that the parent has rights over their child. So if they have rights over their child, then saying that you're against a parental notification policy inadvertently says that you're not. So, like, I really want to make sure that people are understanding. You don't know if it's illegal and you're not pro-parent. So we've got that down. Let's speed on through this then.
We have one last question.
Hi.
Hi, I'm also from the city of Temecula.
Hi.
In doing so, everything you just said,
Yes.
you're technically overriding the election process, the local election process, local government. And you keep using words such as ban books. Our elected officials did not ban any books. Is there a reason why you're using misleading language?
I actually have met with the school board president and members of the board in Temecula Valley, USD, and I'm willing to continue to do that. Those board members have made statements that are not only offensive to the LGBTQ plus community, but I've heard it directly from the students in that district. They feel attacked and bullied. Students of color.
Harvey Milk comments, because that's not referring to the LGBT.
May I continue?
Or the pornographic play.
May I please continue? If we can have a debate, I'm happy to talk with you offline, but can we disagree to not?
I just want to point out really quick before you watch this man skedaddle out of here that he just said that he's open to talking offline to that woman, right? Watch what happens shortly after this when I try to approach him to have said discussion.
Interrupt each other and agree.
I was just wondering what comments you were referring to.
I actually went to your district and met with several students who said that they felt threatened by many of the actions that the board has taken vis-a-vis this curriculum. And many of the students said that they have been threatened and intimidated by adults and other students in the district, and we won't stand for that. I'm here tonight to protect the students of this district because inclusive education helps all of our kids. You know, people like to talk about it and say these things about it, but inclusive education is proven to help students of color to do well, our LGBTQ plus students to do well, and students from all backgrounds to do well. I love this country. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much.
I want to know how you know policies like this will increase suicidality. Because at the end of the day, if you're saying parents finding out would increase suicidality, that means any child that comes out of the closet could be subject to wanting to unalive themselves, right? So that would mean we would have a lot of LGBT kids having suicide simply for being LGBT. And that's not the case. We don't have an overwhelming majority of LGBT kids committing suicide. We do have, you know, a lot of kids committing suicide, but when you want to get it down to the numbers, that's not going to show like there's thousands upon thousands of kids that are committing suicide here strictly for being LGBT. As you can see, even when confronted with the facts that not incorporating parents with this discussion would inadvertently cause higher suicidality rates, you wanted to go ahead and try to avoid that topic and get in the car and leave. And in my opinion, it just shows that this entire thing, you're not being truthful, you're not being good faith. I'm questioning your ability as a government official now to be effective in your job in protecting students and ensuring that the curriculums we put in place do just that. And right now we're seeing you wanting to wield your power from Sacramento onto these local school districts in a way to force their hand when you're not even taking the time to actually get to know, the community in which it surrounds. So at the end of the day, what are you doing to better the community besides doing what you think instead of know? While I was on boots on the ground in Chino Valley Unified School District, I recorded this, ending speech here that I will kind of sign us off with. So I really hope you guys stay tuned for when the public records request comes in and I go over that information. And yeah, so thank you so much, Chino Valley Unified School District, for putting parents first as they have rights over their children and what happens with them under the care of a school. That is the goal here. Much love. Sonia Shaw, President Shaw of Chino Valley Unified School District, I applaud you for taking the step forward to making sanctuary schools for student safety, parental rights, and government overreach. If you are in the surrounding area of Chino Valley Unified School District and you are tired of the indoctrination, you are tired of the sexualization of students, you are tired of the overbearing curriculum, come to Chino Valley Unified School District. This is a safe haven for your student safety, parental rights, and government overreach.